trades, and before the break, we were before that line with Deepan got a little snappy. We were trying to get his view on Groww. Deepan, hi. I hope I'm audible to you now. Can you give us your sense on how you've looked at Groww's numbers? The revenue is up 66%. You've seen a doubler in terms of the PAT, EBITDA, all of that looking good for Groww. And in fact, in their con call, they've also said that they've received the permission to list some US stocks on the platform and enable trading for them. And that is in the testing phase right now. How are you looking at some of these names like a Groww and Angel One, a Nuvama, for instance? Anything to do with the capital markets theme?
That's what I said earlier in the interview that, when we spoke about SBI funds and the listing, that the best way to play, and insurance companies rather, the best way to play this financialization of savings is through companies like Groww, Motilal Oswal, asset managers like Nuvama, 361, maybe even exchange companies. And I think NSE also, when it comes to that IPO, will be very, very successful. So I think that the growth rates are more over there than the AMCs and the insurance companies where there is intense competition. And specifically Groww's numbers, I think, are phenomenal. And in times like this, when there was so much of uncertainty, I think to report these kind of numbers is quite amazing. And maybe they are getting something right over here, because I'm sure their market share has gone up significantly in this quarter. And now clearly they're benefiting massively from the operating leverage which they have got, because they've constructed the platform. Fixed costs are more or less growing in line with inflation, slightly higher. But as and when more revenue comes through because of higher asset prices, more subscriptions, more customers, a lot of it is flowing to the bottom line. So I think great numbers from management. And even at these valuations, I think this company can deliver decent returns.
Okay, so that's the take coming in on some of those companies. But let's cut to the cabinet briefing. We've got Union Minister Ashwini Vaishnav, who's currently addressing that presser. Big schemes coming in. The biggest one, the mobile phone manufacturing scheme, has an outlay of 62,500 crore rupees, is what we're gathering early on. But let's cut across and get more details on that.
देश विदेश से लोग आ रहे हैं, तो काशी में इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर का डेवलपमेंट का काम बहुत हुआ है. एक नेक्स्ट लेवल का इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर डेवलपमेंट जो करना है, वो आज 2 अप्रूवल हुए हैं बड़े. पहला है वरुणा नदी के किनारे किनारे कंप्लीट 6 लेन और 4 लेन एलिवेटेड कॉरिडोर. ये वरुणा एक्सप्रेसवे का कंप्लीट रूट मैप. ये हम देखेंगे गंगा जी इधर, ये गंगा जी, वरुणा नदी कंप्लीट जैसे उनका पाथ है वरुणा नदी का, उसी के साथ साथ पूरा एक एलिवेटेड कॉरिडोर. क्योंकि शहर के अंदर अब रोड्स को एक्सपैंड करना मुश्किल हो जाता है. शहर भी बहुत हजारों वर्षों पुराना शहर है, तो एक नया कॉन्सेप्ट निकाला गया है जिसमें वरुणा नदी के साथ साथ कंप्लीट एक एलिवेटेड कॉरिडोर एयरपोर्ट को कवर करेगा. एयरपोर्ट को कवर करते करते जाके काशी स्टेशन है यहाँ पर रेलवे का, और एक नया नमो ब्रिज बन रहा है. उस नमो, ये यहाँ पे 6 लेन हाईवे और 4 लेन रेलवे का, ये जो ग्रीन कलर का दिख रहा है ना आपको, ये नमो ब्रिज बन रहा है. इस ब्रिज के साथ लगा हुआ ये पिंक कलर का, पर्पल कलर का कंप्लीट ये एलिवेटेड कॉरिडोर बनेगा. (43 किलोमीटर इसकी लेंथ है. 10,998 करोड़ रुपीस की इसकी इन्वेस्टमेंट आएगा, यानी 11,000 करोड़ का. हैम मोड में डेवलप होगा और करीब करीब 4 साल में कंप्लीट होगा. बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट प्रोजेक्ट है, और ये प्रोजेक्ट एक तरीके से देश के लिए जो बहुत पुराने शहर हैं उन शहरों के लिए मॉडल बनेगा. शहर कंप्लीटली, शहर का जो कोर है, सिटी का जो कोर है, वो इससे डिकंजेस्ट हो जाएगा. वाराणसी एयरपोर्ट, वाराणसी रेलवे स्टेशन, वाराणसी कैंट रेलवे स्टेशन, चौका घाट, संपूर्णानंद संस्कृत विश्वविद्यालय, काशी रेलवे स्टेशन और नमो घाट, और नमो घाट के आगे फिर नमो ब्रिज, ये सब के सब इससे कनेक्ट हो जाएंगे. टूरिज्म में बहुत सिग्निफिकेंट इंप्रूवमेंट आएगा, लोगों के जीवन में बड़ा परिवर्तन आएगा. काशी के निवासियों में एक नई खुशी की लहर, एक नए तरीके से पूरे शहर का ट्रैफिक का फ्लो इससे परिवर्तित होगा, चेंज होगा। दूसरा है गंगा जी के साथ साथ।
Okay, that's the word coming in from Union Cabinet Minister Ashwini Vaishnav, just reading out what these approvals have been from the cabinet meeting. The River Varuna elevated corridor that the minister was speaking about, 11,000 crores roughly in terms of the outlay over there. The big one that stands out is Semicon 2.0, 1.27 lakh crore is the kind of outlay that we're seeing on that front, followed by 62,500 crore rupees laid out for mobile phone manufacturing scheme, that's the MPMS. The National Investment Policy for Urea, policy decision is pending over there for Urea 2026. So you've got a bunch of companies on the fertilizer front, RCF, FACT, GSFC, all of those could stand to benefit National Fertilizer. Let's pull up all of those stocks, see if there is any change over there. You're already seeing some excitement coming in on Keynes and Dixon. Dixon on account of this mobile phone manufacturing scheme, and Keynes doing well on account of the Semicon 2.0 scheme that has been announced with an outlay of 1.27 lakh crore rupees. Other than that, yes, there are some infra projects that have been announced, nominal allocation over there, but yes, these two are the biggest ones. The Semicon 2.0 and the mobile phone manufacturing scheme, that's the MPMS that we've seen. You've seen the excitement in Dixon Tech. Also want to try seeing the stock move for something like a CG Power for Semicon. They have also entered into OSAT agreements for their chip manufacturing. CG Power also seeing a little bit of an uptick coming in right now, 1.8% higher for that one. And then, of course, you've got these urea fertilizer companies at play, Chambal, RCF, FACT, National Fert, GSFC, all of those stocks could also be seeing a little bit of an excitement. We've seen a little bit of an uptick coming in all of those names. And in fact, Chambal Fertilizers has come up from the red, so looking good on that front. The other fertilizer names yet to catch up in terms of that action. But yes, most of them are on the infra front, and that's the outcome that we're seeing from the cabinet meeting as of now. Deepan, give us your sense on this entire Semicon 2.0 outlay that we're seeing. It's a big one, 1.27 lakh crores of outlay here. Talk to us about some of the biggest beneficiaries and the kind of push that the government is creating towards the semiconductor space. Where do you think some of the listed players over here are headed?
Well, I think the government has finally woken up to the fact that we need to get self-sufficiency for critical electronic components at the base level. So the investment in semiconductor is completely justified. And of course, the two companies which are implementing these products, these projects rather, one is CG Power and other is Keynes Tech. I think certainly they will get an impetus and a lot of benefit. And more importantly, I think that if they get this particular business right, then it will be a great growth driver, because there's a learning curve over here. And if they're able to stabilize the technology and execute it well, then I think eventually a lot of government support in terms of curbing imports and promoting exports, and a lot of other benefits also will accrue the industry and to these two companies. So yes, I think that we are watching Keynes Tech very closely. It's come out significantly from its all-time high, and there have been reasons for it: accounting related controversies, volatility in the earnings also. But I think if this semiconductor project does well, the rest of the business, of course, is growing pretty well. So from that point of view, it is one company which is worth watching.
We'll be watching out for that. We've also got numbers coming in from HDFC AMC. The revenue has come exactly in line with what the street was estimating. 1,098 crore rupees is where that is at. The profit estimate was 740 crore rupees. It's coming at 838. So in fact, it's a beat on that front when it comes to HDFC AMC. You can see that very sharp spike coming in on the stock right now, about a 3% uptick on that one. Good show when it comes to the EBITDA number, but we've seen a little moderation when it comes to the EBITDA margin. Will be bringing you more numbers on HDFC AMC, but the initial reaction on that stock has got the street excited about these numbers. Nagraj, a quick chart check on HDFC AMC at the level at which the stock is right now. How are you looking at it, and how is it placed on the charts?
Yes, Nehi, HDFC, I won't be able to comment on this due to compliance.
That's a miss from my end. Apologies for that. But give us your sense on some of the other stocks that have got the street excited in terms of the cabinet announcements that we were just listening to. On the semiconductor front, on the mobile manufacturing front, anything looking good from Keynes, Dixon, CG Power, anything standing out, or Sirma too?
Yeah, CG Power is the one has been in a constant uprun over the last many months. Higher tops and bottoms on the chart is indicating a strength of an uptrend. Recent downward correction has shifted into a sideways range, and the stock price is now an attempt of breaking above the range. Looking positive, and the next overhead resistance to be watched for the CG Power is somewhere around 980 to 990.
HDFC AMC, there's been that other income, which is also impacting PAT per se. There's a 263 crore other income versus 233 crore same time last year. So that's what's caused a bit of a spike on the PAT. But otherwise, it's a resounding beat. Deepan, your reading of the numbers, if at all you've had a chance to just quickly glance through.
See, I think that you will have decent, steady performance from all the asset management companies, including the new listing, SBI Funds Management. But then I think the real alpha comes from companies like Groww, to an extent, exchanges, where I think the growth rates will be significantly higher. So while these companies are also good, steady performers, our preference is for other players in the similar investment theme, the capital market industry per se. That's where we stand. And end of the day, it's a very competitive business, whether it's AMCs or insurance companies, highly regulated also. There's a risk of SEBI stepping in to curb the total expense ratio. So these things, considering the risk return and the valuation, like HDFC AMC trades at what I think 41, 42 times or so. Already it is trading at a price earning growth of around 2 or more. So how much more can you expect in terms of returns at such high valuations is what kind of makes us leads us to a kind of a neutral view on the stock.
Neutral reading coming in on HDFC AMC. On that note, Nagraj, thank you so much for your time and for sharing your views with us. But we also have Sahaj Agrawal of Kotak Securities who's joining us on the show right now. Sahaj, hi, good to be speaking with you. Before we get your view on some stocks and some sectors that are in the spotlight today, share with our viewers some stocks that have made it to your radar. What would your picks for this afternoon be?
Yeah, hi Snehi, and good afternoon to the viewers. So the two stocks that I like is one is SBI Life. I think looking at a space, which is lesser impacted by the geopolitical volatility, plus the technical structure of the stock looks extremely interesting. It's given a breakout of a weekly selling trend line on a larger time frame. So that makes the stock pretty interesting. And even today, as a matter of fact, the stock has been outperforming. So I believe momentum out here is expected to continue. I would suggest a buy on the current stock with a stop loss of around 1800, and on the higher side, one can expect a target of around 1950 in the short term. Fundamentally, also, we have an extremely positive outlook on the stock. So that's one opportunity that I like on the momentum space. The other one that I would like to share is Grasim Industries. Now, that stock has actually given a monthly breakout, say 2 months back. And since then, it's just been consolidating. I think it's just after this correction, it's come around its momentum support level of around 3,000, currently trading around 3,085 or something. So that also makes it a very interesting risk reward proposition with the stock being in an uptrend on monthly charts. So that's another opportunity for a target on the higher side placed at 3,300. So these are the two stocks that look interesting on my radar in terms of the overall setup of the market.
Okay, understood. So SBI Life and Grasim, two stocks that have made it to Sahaj's radar. But shifting focus, the Adani Group has entered India's top 10 most valuable brands for the first time. According to the Brand Finance India 100 report 2026, the conglomerate climbed to number 8 with its brand value rising 31.3% to $8.48 billion, which is the fastest growth among the country's top 20 brands. The report also names Adani Power as India's most valuable energy brand, while Adani Green Energy and Adani Energy Solutions also feature among the top 5. Commenting on the rankings, Alex Haig, the managing director of Asia Pacific Brand Finance, said that this entry reflects its strength that has become deeply embedded in India's growth story. But once again, shifting focus back to our market conversation, Deepan, the consumption space has been in focus for some time now. Of course, all eyes have been on Patanjali today, which has been the biggest casualty on the street. We spoke with the management, and they're confident of attaining all the growth guidances that they had chalked out for their business for FY27. They say there is no regulatory concern also right now that's at play. But yes, we're seeing a massive massive cut coming in on that stock in today's trade. How are you looking at a player like Patanjali, and how are you looking at the overall consumption pack?
See, I don't think we track Patanjali, so want to comment on that. But overall, our view on traditional FMCG companies is negative, and we are seeing that the kind of categories they're operating in are very mature, and growth rates have come down to kind of low single digit in terms of volume, and that doesn't really interest us. Of course, they may become value buys also, but end of the day, I think long-term returns will be very diminished from the FMCG industry. There are a few exceptions. These are new FMCG companies, companies like Honasa, Zydus Wellness, Nykaa, Varun Beverages, where I feel the growth rates will still remain strong because they are in underpenetrated categories. And then there's, of course, the entire alcobev industry, especially Indian alcobev companies, Radico Khaitan, Tilak Nagar Industries, Associated Alcohol, Allied Blenders. I think all of them have done exceedingly well, good track record. And that's also one category, although we call them alcobev, but end of the day, they are like an FMCG player only. So that's where we need to focus on. And I would avoid the likes of HUL, Colgate, Nestle, Godrej Consumer, Dabur India, where I think growth rates have structurally become extremely low.
On traditional FMCG companies, you spoke about some alcobev names, and Sahaj, given that the UK-India CETA has kicked into action today, alcobev stocks are some of the biggest beneficiaries of this trade pack. Give us a reading on how you're looking at something like an Allied Blenders, Radico, UBL, USL, anything looking attractive on the charts?
So as a matter of fact, Radico Khaitan has been outperforming significantly. I mean, that's one stock in that pack that's done extremely well. I think from the trading perspective, it does look interesting for sure. I would not put it in the value category for sure, considering the returns that it's given in the last 6 odd months. So from an investor perspective, I would say one should probably keep a buy on dips stance. But from a trading perspective, yes, you can go about with a short-term trading setup, wherein currently the short-term support for the stock is seen at 39.80, currently trading at 4080, probably on the higher side of 4200. For this momentum setup looks quite possible. But again, this is a pure trading setup. It's quite far away from its core value proposition.
Okay, I wonder how you look at Eternal, Sahaj.
Yes, let me just have a look at that one. Yes, Eternal, in fact, so I'd say currently, I mean, looking at the monthly charts, the stock has given an up move for sure, but I would say there's a very stiff resistance placed around 305. So for a positional play to happen from here on, for the stock to actually gain further momentum, I would really want the stock to sustain about that 305 level, and then maybe a fresher opportunity could come in. See, we have to look at it from the market perspective as well. The market's underperformed, and select movements are happening. But if the movement is stretched enough and if you hit a resistance, then the proposition really doesn't remain as attractive. And hence, it's important for the stock to cross 305, 310, and then maybe a very good opportunity could kick in. But as of now, I think it's more of wait and watch for the stock to cross this resistance level.
Deepan, I wonder how you look at something like a Tata Motors PV. We've seen quite a fall on that stock. 330s is where I last saw it trading. What's the sense on this one?
See, I think that we have a slightly, I would say, different view on Tata Motors PV. And the reason for that is that at some point of time, I think JLR will again start to perform really well for the company. And that's a big one. And they're working very hard in getting the break-even point lower. And if they're able to achieve that, able to execute that, then JLR is among the 3 or 4 really luxury car manufacturers with a very exciting kind of model profile. And more importantly, I think they are well covered when it comes to electrification as well. So I think every model of theirs has got diesel, petrol, hybrid, and EV. So that puts them in a very, I would say, strong position. And it's just a matter of time whether when it starts to perform again for this company, And also the domestic PV business has suddenly started doing very well. We are seeing that after many quarters, they are gaining their market share again back. And again, Tata Motors, the domestic business, has got a very sound EV strategy, and the new models have also done very well. So, in terms of valuation, and more so in terms of the potential to earn profits, we think that Tata Motors PV could be a dark horse.
Very interesting. Okay. On charts, Sahaj, do you have a view on Tata Motors PV?
So Tata Motors PV has been trading in a very broad range and witnessed massive volatility. That's the nature of the stock usually. But at this point of time, purely from a trading perspective, I'm seeing some support placed around the 325 mark. It's made a double bottom over there since the past 5 days. Also, it's not been able to break that level and has just bounced back from there. So I think from the trading perspective, put up a bit of a safety margin, 320 as a support level. And on the higher side, the previous resistance that it was facing is around 360. So these are the levels that I would watch out for Tata Motors PV purely from the trading perspective.
Okay, interesting. You're coming in on Tata Motors PV, both on the fundamentals and technicals, but shifting focus. The market has largely rewarded companies raising capital via QIPs. While most stocks have gone on to deliver healthy gains, only a handful have emerged as outliers. Avi is joining us with very interesting details on how companies have performed once they've raised capital via QIPs. Avi.
So a lot of companies have been raising capital via QIP in this past 6 months that we've seen for the year 2026. And what we saw was a very strong pattern that we could figure out. And what sowed this thought of we should do this research, it was a specific exclusive research done at ET Now. So when Blue Jet Healthcare came out with a QIP, we saw the stock rallying very strongly, and so was the case with Idea Forge. We saw some very sharp buying in the stock after they announced the QIP. So we thought we should break it down for our investors as to the stock that has performed post QIP for the year 2026. Starting off from Biocon, the QIP was announced on Jan 12, and since then we have seen an 11% return, followed by E2E Networks that has been playing on the AI theme. We can see that on Feb 25 the QIP was announced, and since then a 55% return has been given to the shareholders of the company, followed by AGI Infra on 2nd of March. After that, the company has rallied by around 13%, and Poonawalla FinCorp, which is up by 18.5% from April 9th, the date on which the QIP was announced for the company. Moving on, we can see that Adani Entertainment also announced the QIP on the 30th of April, and since then the stock has rallied by 32%, JSW Energy by a mere 2%, but KRN Heat Exchangers, which has done phenomenally well over the last few months, was up by 12% since May 26 when the QIP was announced. Moving on, we can see that there was only one outlier in our research that gave a negative return since the QIP, and that was Sterlite Technologies, that is down by around 17% post 18 June when the QIP was announced. Apart from that, all of the stocks are in the positive since the QIP has been announced. As we can see, Acme Solar is up by 23%, and their insolvency case was resolved, and since then the stock has been showing some very strong rally and buying. Up next is Motisans Jewelers is up by 18% since June 9, and JSW Infra from June 22nd June, it is up by 8%. So all in all, we can see that for the year 2026, companies coming out with QIP are showing some very strong investor interest and rallying up post their QIP fundraise. Strong names participating in the QIP is also a very big positive for the company, as we saw ICICI AMC participating very heavily in the Blue Jet Healthcare QIP. So if I were to summarize it, I think it is a very strong signal for investors to invest in stocks that are coming out with a QIP and the names participating in the QIP as well.
Thank you so much for that, Avi. Let me go across. We've got Mithali joining us for HDFC Life. What to expect from the numbers?
Right, talking about HDFC Life, so for quarter 1 FY27, the streets are penciling in a moderate growth in its new business, while the concerns of margin pressure are also being penciled in. The APE, which is a key measure of the new business sales of the life insurer, it is expected to grow nearly 8% on a yearly basis. However, on a sequential basis, the APE could see a decline of nearly 33%. This will be due to the seasonally strong March quarter. So the growth momentum, it remained weak during the quarter, followed by a down slowdown seen in the month of April as well as May, while a flattish growth was seen for the month of June. The value of new business, which is the key measure for the profitability of its new policies sold, it is expected to grow nearly 5%. Now, talking about the VNB margins, so it is projected at 24.3%, down nearly 80 basis points on a yearly basis. The margin pressure, it is expected to come due to the impact of the GST input tax credit losses, partly cushioned by a favorable product mix. The key focus for investors will be the management's commentary on the APE growth, the trajectory of the VNB margins, also the commentary on product mix and restructuring or recapping of any commissioning payouts. So the key takeaway as of now for HDFC Life, moderate growth for Q1 FY27 with positive growth seen in for new business sales as well as profitability, but margin pressure, that is a key concern that the streets are penciling in.
For those numbers later today, and HDFC Life is going to be in focus on the back of that. So ahead a chart check on HDFC Life. 568 is where the stock is right now. What could the upside be from here?
So the HDFC Life as a stock is continuously on technical parameters been making lower tops and lower bottoms. But at this point of time, I think there's some resilience on the downside with the support that I'm looking at around 545 odd levels. I would say there's a good chance that the stock might just take a support of this level and maybe try for a bounce back towards 605. So a good possibility in terms of the technical setup that the stock can bounce back. So that's the view on HDFC Life at this point of time.
Okay, interesting. Some movers. There's Ather Energy, where you've seen some very decent moves. 7% high on Ather actually. Let's pull that one up, Sahaj. What's the view there? 8% now.
Yes. So again, it's consistently outperformed, and I think as a trader, also putting a risk, a defined risk on such stocks becomes extremely difficult as such. But still, I would just stick my neck out and say it's a high risk opportunity at this point of time as well. Currently 1300, and because the stock has moved up around 8% today, the support level could be a little distant. But the uptrend is intact as long as 1160 is not broken. I know it's a little far, but that's the most objective level that we can look at. I would still advise a buying on dips being possible, but the stock is surely in an uptrend. And any possible correction should be used as an opportunity with 1160 as a stop loss.
Is there a view that you have on Patanjali, Sahaj? Because this kind of knock on the stock, what's the view there?
So ideally, the entire sector has been consolidating. I think you were having conversation with the earlier guest as well. The entire sector has actually been consolidating. And if you talk about Patanjali, since the beginning of this calendar year, it's just been under pressure. So if I were to put technical levels also, there's nothing that tells me that, on trading basis, there could be a bounce back. There could be some perceived value in the stock. One can take a contra call for the long term and possibly consider investing into the same. But at this point of time, in my understanding, I would give it some more time to consolidate, maybe find its base, give me some reversal signal, and then take a bet. So from my perspective, it would be an avoid. But from a long-term investment perspective, if you have this value onto the same, then maybe one can look at it. But nothing strong as such at this point of time.
Understood. That's the take on Patanjali. Sahaj, a couple of minutes left till we shut shop for the day. Where do you reckon the markets will be tomorrow and for the rest of the week? We've barely held on to the 24,000 mark and we've been in a very tight band. What could the levels tomorrow look like?
So to be honest, we've had a consolidative view, and today being the first day of this weekly expiry setup, Nifty just tested the yesterday's low and has bounced back. My understanding is still we don't cross 24,250 on the higher side. Things look a little consolidative in nature as such. So for the momentum setup to mature, the first level that I would want the market to cross is 24,250. Then maybe one can target 24,500, 24,700. Otherwise, consolidation, and 24,000 has acted as a very strong support in the previous week, and today also in data parameters, you're seeing massive build up over there. So I think we're just hovering around the support level, expected to consolidate only, not really expecting a negative surprise as well.